it flooded, and oftener many years. The entire population really had to move out. Residents became so accustomed to being photographed, they came to expect it. Some said, to expect it, some said. Can't keep my glasses up and the paper at the right distance. Locally, statewide, and sometimes nationally, they could be viewed along with their belongings being hauled out by boat or car or truck, horse, wagon, or even piggyback. Residential living in the addition was heterogeneous. I won't ask you what that means, but I'll tell you. It ranged from well-built and well-tended properties on lighted streets to the squalid living accommodations built from paper boxes. This was an area not that big. When you look at Ottumwa Park, as you're going across the viaduct and you look to the west, you look where the softball fields are, and you look where the campground is. And even though there's more land, that pretty much was Central Addition. Now, the highway wasn't through there, so there was an opportunity for more streets right there. But it was a pretty small area. When you look at people some that were wealthy, the homes, I think some of them, the highest I found was $4,000. And the cheapest was $150. So there was a big difference there, and they didn't put a value on those people who were living in cardboard houses. Unwatched and unattended, Central seemed able to avoid many laws that guarded the rest of Ottumwa. Criminals hid there, squatters took up residence there. There were few bounds on living activity. You know, the city passed the ordinance here about you can't park in your front yard now or something like that. It would not have worked. One found cows, horses, pigs, chickens prowling around among extensive junkyard operations. Maybe this was a result of an attitude towards citizens, where the city did not give them too much service. There was electricity and a few street lights, but no water, nor sewers, nor fire hydrants. There is a picture at the library, and I didn't bring it, that shows when Central Addition was asking that levees be built around Central to protect them, and the city didn't do it. It shows a team of horses and a guy with a slip. Now, those of you that are older know what a slip is. That's like a great big shovel that a team of horses pulls, and it gets like an end loader bucket, but it's behind a couple horses. It fills up, and you tilt it back, and then the horses can go, and you dump it. It shows them trying to build their own levee, not getting any help from the city, or the county, or the state. They were building their own levee to protect themselves. Central Addition residents were rugged, capable with their own wishes, and they were individualists. The exact implication is not clear, but 30 to 40 years ago, policemen were occasionally threatened that if they messed up on the job, they were going to have to walk the beat in Central Addition. They didn't mess up. Even so, life was not all bad in Central Addition. Vegetation flourished, wildlife found refuge there, the river was close, and fishing was good. A walk through Central on a warm early spring day under the towering cottonwoods, a lot of which are still over there in the campground, amid the thousands of songbirds, could be a very pleasant walk. The residents' attachments became evident when attempts were made to clear the area. Remember, these are people who had been flooded every year. Every year there was some kind of flood that they had to put up with. But still, persuasion at first did not work to get the people to move out, and most simply refused to leave. However, in the end, most agreed and most left, but it took court action to get a lot of those out of there. Central Addition is not just a name. Old timers say there was a natural water course where the new river channel is, and the island became a fact. about 1876. That's when a commercial company deepened the draw to provide the race to produce power. That's the red line on the far side, where it's about a fourth of what the width of the river is now there. Then in 1891, the Ottumwa Land Company with Mr. Zhang, Mr. Mangan, Mr. Gugerty, they platted Central Addition as most of the southwest corner. According to old timers, the area was described in growing terms. The beautiful vegetation, tall trees, flat ground was cited among the richness of the river deposited soil in the area. Got to tell them though that you're going to get flooded every year. Nothing was said about the elevation being the same as the river.
They also had the two dams over there at that time too.
It sounds kind of good having all the trees and, you know, you're kind of yourself, and maybe you don't have to obey all the laws, but it wasn't a community without tragedies. You have to remember that just upstream there were two dams, and people have a tendency to not be as careful as they should around that kind of water, and there were an exorbitant amount of drownings from Central Addition. There were also situations like when at the Race Bridge, where the railroad bridge was, it had a high metal top where the kids would climb up there, and that's where they jumped off. There's nothing wrong with that. The police and the sheriff, they'd sit and watch the kids do that. They couldn't nowadays, but back then, that was their beach, and they enjoyed it. But in doing so, it did create some situations that were bad for the kids. Also, in 1938, the people of Central petitioned the city of Ottumwa. They wanted fire hydrants put in Central. Now, 20 years earlier, when the old Milwaukee rail house was there, they had fire hydrants. But once they had left, the fire hydrants were non-existent then. They were there, but they didn't work. Well, on April 22nd, 1939, they had not put in the hydrants. The Helmick family had a fire at their house. On that day, 6 members of the family died. A few days later, the 7th member of the family died. I don't know that having fire hydrants there would have stopped it, but I know they had to stretch the hose 1,200 feet to get to water, because the water from the trucks was gone just immediately when they had pulled up to the fire. So stretching it 1,200 feet, it might have saved some time, but I can't say it would have saved any of the family. The waterworks manager was quoted as saying it was too costly to run water to Central Addition. The city should depopulate Central Addition and move the people out. It's okay to say that if you don't live there. It's okay to say that if it's, that's not your home that somebody's taking. But these were people who wasn't asking for much. I think if we didn't have water, or we didn't have fire hydrants in our neighborhood, I think we'd be marching on City Hall. We expect some of those things.